Welcome back, everybody. CT here, back with my 2014 SEC football preview. And as you see today, we're talking about the LSU Tigers and Les Miles back for another year at LSU, and just a phenomenal career that he's had so far at LSU. Truly impressive. And 2013 was no different for LSU. Another 10 plus win season for them, and they capped it off with a win against Iowa and I believe the Outback Bowl. And they've lost quite a bit of players over the years early to the NFL. And of course, I don't think there's any team who reloads quicker than LSU does. Uh, you could argue Alabama, but I don't think they haven't lost as many players early in the draft as LSU does, and replace that production as quick as they have. So, but they've lost a significant amount of players in this past NFL draft. They're returning 5 players on offense and 7 on defense, which that's pretty good on defense. The hits they took was uh, definitely on the offensive side of the ball, but they're a young, talented team. Les Miles seems to really like his team this year, from what I saw in SEC Media Day, and they lost Zach Mettenberger, which I don't think will be that big of a loss. He played pretty well under Cam Cameron's offense, and that last year was the best offense that LSU has had so far since Les Miles has been there. And we'll see if if they can replace him with either Brendan Harris or Anthony Jennings, 2 pretty young, good quarterbacks. And they lose 2 stud receivers on the outside, and Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. And I think that is my biggest concern for LSU in this upcoming season, because those guys were just phenomenal. And even with those guys, they didn't have as good as a season as I think some people thought they might have. And that's my biggest concern with those losing those 2 stud receivers. And they also lose Jeremy Hill, who's just was a phenomenal power back. He was just when he caught a head of steam, he was really difficult back to tackle. Probably the hardest running back to tackle in college football last year. I wouldn't want to have to tackle him, that's for sure. And returners, key returning players this year. I have down the entire offensive line, and that is huge. If you're gonna be a young team, you'd rather be young on the perimeter at the skill positions than you would up front, and pretty much returning the entire defensive line as well. So that is huge for LSU, and that's going to be big in how good of a season they have. If it was the other way around, I would be way more worried about LSU this year. And returning players specifically that I do like, I really like Daniel Hunter. I think he's gonna really come into his own this year at the defensive end position. And Kenny Hilliard will probably be the starting back, but they kind of do a running back by committee type of deal. And Leonard Fournette will be in the mix, just the #1 overall recruit in the country. Uh, Really just a typical LSU running back, just a perfect fit. He's probably going to have a really good year in his freshman year. I really like Leonard Fournette. And at the quarterback positions, Brandon Harris, I think, is going to be the guy. And Anthony Jennings, I think he was the one who came in and played when Zach Vettenberger got hurt last year. And he played pretty well against Arkansas, but he didn't play too well against Iowa. So I think it'll be Brandon Harris From what Les Miles said, that's what I'm. That's kind of the guy that I think he's leaning towards right now. And let's go ahead and get into the 2014 schedule for LSU. They start off with Wisconsin in Houston in the Texans Stadium. That's going to be a really difficult matchup, I think. Um, for a young quarterback, that's a tough game to start with. Wisconsin was a very solid team last year. Gave South Carolina a lot more trouble in that bowl game they had against them than I had thought they would. And they're just a physical team. That's just going to be a really physical game between them and LSU, and that'll be a great way to start off the season. Uh, I'll give LSU the win there, but I think that game is really a toss-up. That's a tough game for LSU, but LSU usually plays well in their season opener, which is usually against a very quality opponent, and it's no different this year. And then they go back home for their home opener against Sam Houston State, which is obviously should be an easy win, and they follow that up with a against Louisiana Monroe at home, which should be another easy win. And then they have kind of a tricky game against Mississippi State at home. And Mississippi State is a very dangerous team to me this year. I think they I don't think they're really a threat to win the West or do anything crazy like that, but they could easily ruin it for one of the other three teams in LSU, Alabama, or Auburn. Um, I don't think they do it here because it's at LSU, and I don't see Mississippi State going in there and knocking them off when they will probably be undefeated at that point. Then they have New Mexico State at home, which should be another win. Then they go to Auburn. I think this is where they trip up. And LSU was the only team that beat Auburn in the regular season last year. So that's kind of a revenge game there. Going to Jordan Hare, probably be a night game. That's going to be a tough one for LSU. I don't know if they'll be able to get past Auburn there. So I'll give Auburn the win there. Then they have to go to Florida, which is another tricky game. But I'm not as if you saw my Florida preview, I'm not as big on Florida as I think a lot of people are, which I'm not sure exactly why. Yeah, they'll be a really good defensive team, and that'll be probably a really low scoring game. But I gotta stick with LSU there. Florida hasn't LSU has usually plays well against Florida, so I don't see that being any different there. Then they got Kentucky at home, which should be another win for LSU. Kentucky's, I think, a couple years away from really being a decent team in the SEC. Then they got Ole Miss at home at homecoming, and Ole Miss knocked off LSU last year at Ole Miss, so that's a revenge game for LSU. So I definitely like LSU in that game, even though Ole Miss is my dark horse in the SEC West. So it won't be an easy game, but I gotta go LSU there. Then they got a bye week, and then they go, they stay home for Alabama, and that bye week before the Alabama game I think will be big. I'm not sure if Alabama has a bye week before that game as well. If they don't, then that will be that could be critical. Man, that's a really tough game to pick. I guess I'll go Alabama, but that game's really a toss-up. Uh, you know, the last time Alabama went there was a really tough game. LSU probably should have won the game. I mean, Alabama scored on that screenplay to T.J. Yeldon for the win, and Alabama and LSU had a pretty good game last year in Tuscaloosa, but Alabama pulled it out uh, with ease at the end. So I don't see. I like Alabama in that game a little bit, but that'll be tough. I'm really thinking about giving LSU that one, but I'll stick with Bama. And then LSU goes to Arkansas, and I heard someone on SEC Media Day, one of the reporters or whatever, said that they think that's going to be Arkansas's only win of the year, and I don't see that at all. I definitely go LSU in that game. I think Arkansas is actually. I don't think Brett Billman will ever uh, get to Arkansas to where they want to be. I don't think the style of ball he's trying to play will work when you can't try to beat the Alabama and LSU's in the West playing their own game. You're not going to beat them at their own game. That's the way I see it. He's going to have to recruit phenomenally, and he's going to have to start taking recruits from Alabama and LSU if he's going to start beating them. Then they got a bye week, and they finish the season at Texas A&M. And if you see my previous videos, I don't think I've had Texas A&M win a game yet, and I don't think they'll win this one either. They're just they lost way too much, and LSU lost a lot as well. But Texas A&M doesn't reload like LSU does, and yeah, they've recruited well the past couple of years, but I don't see them having a good year at all. And yeah, so let's see what's that up there total there. I believe that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 2. So they'll probably get a bowl win, and I'll probably get them 11, probably 11 win team this year, which is which is solid considering all they lost on offense. And they may be able to, they may pull out one of those games against Auburn or Alabama. If they do, I would probably say Alabama. But yeah, another solid season for LSU, and I think they'll be a lot better the next year than they will be this year. Uh, their offense will be able to grow up a little bit. Guys like Leonard Fournette and Brandon Harris will be a year older. So I think next year will be the year for LSU, but this year will be quite good. I think that about does it for LSU. Appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll be back probably later on with an SEC East team. If you haven't noticed, it's switching back and forth between East and West. And I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.